booties for black girl nerds.
It's a pleasure to talk with you. This role, like usually when they give us like the screeners, I just watch one because I don't have to worry about like spoiler alert that I'll go out and do it. But with Mel, I was like, oh my gosh, she was so unhinged and unbothered. But at the same time, I was like, if I get in a situation, I think I want to call her.
Yeah. Oh, I
So
love
I'm right, like, because I feel like she's so direct that she could get me out of that situation. Like, I feel like I still want to call her, even though I know how it's gonna go. Was that for you, like, just kind of playing that character? It felt like it had to be fun to just say, like, whatever came to your mind.
Yeah, I do think that is what drew me to her. I was like, oh, I've never really played someone who's so. I mean, we kept saying unhinged, and it is like a strong word, but like she does feel kind of like this like loose cannon, and she kind of inserts herself in a situation and just is. And that was really fun, I think, and to like play into that. And I think, you know, for her, there's a lot of like she has insecurity, and she is putting on fronts and stuff. And I think some of her very brusque and unapologetic nature comes from also having a guard up and protecting herself. But I also think it is cool to play someone or to be in that mindset of, I don't really, even though I do think she wants people to like her, but I think she presents it like, she's like, I don't care what you think, and I'm just gonna, this is what it is. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I like that you feel like you would call her. I agree. I think she would.
Yeah, like I would totally call her. Like she would ask me the stuff I totally don't want to answer, but I would definitely call her because I'd be like, okay, she's gonna get me out of the situation. Because to me, she was foreshadowing, like she was seeing things, 10 times before the guys. And that's another thing that I kind of want to point out too, like being in an inspector in that office, surrounded by a lot of men. I remember like the first time you see her on the screen, one of the first lines you hear was like, play nice, don't interrupt. And I like how she was totally the opposite of that. She was like, oh, but you knew that, right? Like when she's in the room with them. How was that? Like, are you excited for women to kind of see that side?
Yeah, I think in general, right? I mean, they have all these studies, right, of like women in the workforce in general being a lot more apologetic, having a harder time asking for raises and things that they deserve, benefits, whatnot, just because of, I guess how we're taught, or the nature of the structure of the system and whatnot, and where we feel comfortable to express and not express, and also perhaps what is just inherent chemically different in how we process whatever, right? And so I think it is important to make spaces for women to feel comfortable to express themselves, and that I think can be hard in very male dominated spaces where the energy is just different, or expectation is different on how you're expected to communicate, and so I think there is, right, that I think they say that a lot, like women who are like ambitious or whatever, and they're acting like men or whatever, and you're like, no, she's just doing her thing, and it is perhaps interpreted differently because she's a woman versus just like a go getter guy. I do think that it does feel different when women behave in that way than when men do.
I really liked her and Manny's thing.
I know those scenes were always really fun. Just, I mean, how they were written, the banter is fun. But I think she's like, I can do this job. She knows she can. But she also, the way she's going about it, I think she's jumping ahead of what, she should. There is structure and bureaucracy, and that can get in the way. But also reasons why things like that are there too. So I think she goes for it. I think she also has a lot to learn, but I like that you felt empowered by her.
Yeah, she was mad cool. And I gotta talk about, can we talk about like just the uniform and the hair? Because you also have this beautiful hair, these cool looks with the color and everything, just you as Zazie, but as this character of Mel, she had to tone it down, right? But she still felt
Yes.
like she had the white shirt on and you could see like the ankles with the pants on and stuff. And it
Oh
was
my gosh,
like,
that's so funny. We were actually, you saying that so funny because we
yeah,
were talking about, it was always like, oh, she has always this, she can only wear office clothes, but she like
yeah,
doesn't want, and we were always saying it was like, she has sock game. Like that's how she
yeah,
gets it,
she does.
little
Yep.
flavors. All her socks were a little bit cute, but then even the hair, like I was like, we were talking about hair color because I was like, I think she has punch, but like, what can she do in an office? And so we were like, do we go like fire engine red or like, she also, I wanted her hair out, but then we were
Yeah.
talking about as in this situation, doing kind of detective police investigative work, you have to have your hair back because people, it's like a safety thing. And so we were like, oh, it's so interesting. And so I do think she's this person who is in the system that does repress some of her expression, but
Yeah.
I like that you brought that up because I did feel, I was like, yeah, she definitely is like, oh, I have to wear whatever. But
Yeah, and she would do like the little and I didn't know if I was reaching too much when I thought about it because I forgot about the safety issue of it. But it also felt like as she was going through her journey, she would rock like the top knot or she would let it fall, depending on like if she was more like relaxed or she was like, okay, look, I'm tired of playing with these people. We're doing the
yes,
top knot because I'm
yes.
like in the scene right now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no, very much. I think that was definitely, we were tracking like when would she let her hair down or not, and uh based on what was sort of going on, but also where she was at emotionally too.
Mm. I'm curious for you as an actor, how did you, because I felt like she did, even though we're using, like you said, unhinged is a strong word and she's a go-getter, she still compartmentalized her emotions a lot. Like
Mhm.
she could go from like her business and her personal was always so separate, which I know that would totally be hard for me. Like I have no idea how, she could fight with her girlfriend. Then it's like, okay, wait, but you got to call and you need to be in this park like right now,
Mhm.
to stay focused. And her job required that. How was that for you as an actor? Because, you're trying to portray her a certain way, but then you don't want to go over the top in certain
Yeah.
scenes.
Yeah, that was actually very difficult. I think I was always really trying to balance like what her internal life was with what she was
Mm-hmm.
expressing externally. And I do think that sometimes they were at
Mm-hmm.
odds, especially she's also this very verbose character. And so she was kind of talking. And sometimes I think people who are often just, they ramble on and on and on. And usually they're like, wait, but what's underneath all that talk? And I do think I was often trying to access that, have elements of that shine through, while she also was, as you said, compartmentalizing. Like I think she was like her private life and her work life, and then her feelings about herself versus the feelings she wanted other people to have about her. And so, yeah, I did actually find that kind of a challenge
Yeah.
to strike the balance to make her also relatable. I mean, I'm not trying to make her relatable, but just make her feel fully fleshed out and not just like emotionally, like that she doesn't understand the emotional temperature of a room, because I think she does, but I think she does what she does anyway, if that makes sense.
Yeah, in my opinion, she understands it too well, and that makes it easier for her to work the system. But sometimes in the audience, if you're not looking at it, you're like, what is she going? Like, what is happening? Like, what is she doing? But she's actually getting to the point really quickly because she's reading everybody, and she's like, no, okay, you do this, you're definitely lying. I gotta go. Like she's just reading the scene very quickly.
I agree. I think her also a bit being a little bit of a raw nerve lets her be so in tune. And I think you're right. I think she's very in tune and then uses that to her advantage. Because I think she's like, I'm already miles ahead of everyone. And I think, because of that, I think can also be condescending to people. But she's smart, but she also doesn't always, I think she also gets ahead of herself. And
I see.
And you know, makes decisions that also don't always behoove the larger thing at hand, kind of for her own gain too, in a way.
Yeah, but I love that she's so complicated and messy and just like fierce in her own like unique way. And I can't wait for people to check this out. Thank you so much. It's been so much fun talking with you.
Thank you. Yeah, nice talking to you too. Thanks, Ryanne.
Hey, Jerome, how you doing?
What's up? How you doing, Ryan? Thank you for taking the time to speak to me.
Listen, I'm telling you, this life of crime got me. I was like, what is going on? Got me thinking like, boy, this life is no joke.
Right. Everybody's like experiencing their demise and their downfall very slowly. I don't get the point of anybody's choices, but they made them.
Yeah. And then like Aked right off the top, right? He's dealing with loss automatically off the top. What was that for you as an actor to like, there's not even like the little sunshine moment. It's just right off the top. You're getting into like, okay, he's dealing with grief and loss.
Yeah, I think that's what made Aked so interesting because, you know, off rip, he's a villain. He's the main bad guy. He's the monster. You feel like all his choices just coming from this born evil rage. And then as the season goes along, you start to strip certain layers of him and you realize there's certain reasons and there's certain intentions behind what he does. And the main one is family. And the main one is leading with trauma and leading with loss. So, yeah, I just knew I had to come with this sort of energy that was a little sporadic and chaotic. That felt right for me. You know, Aked doesn't have much on this about who he is on the script. You kind of just jump into what's already become of him. So it was up to me to kind of figure out certain traits and certain details about him. I think Aked is bipolar. I think he's traumatized. I think that he is lost. And I think he has strong love for his family, but it's a desperate love. I think it's a love that comes from desperation and love that comes from, I just want to be accepted, heard, and not alone in this world, you know?
Now you mentioned bipolar, which is interesting because I didn't think of that at first, but I did notice he had this kind of facial expression, like he was always, it's like he was thinking like he was super smart because he was thinking of these plans. But, you know, he's like, when you're talking about the hierarchy of criminals, he's like down almost towards the bottom, right? When it comes to people listening to him.
Right.
So I'm curious, like what you saying bipolar though, like I'm curious how you kind of dived in that and your kind of research on that, because that had to be kind of difficult to play because it's like you could just see it all over your face as you were going through these scenes.
Yeah, it's one thing I really learned about being bipolar is that you have absolute no control over it and you have no way of even knowing what's going on while it's going on. And so I think that was Aked. He's in the middle of commanding a whole van of people, but such severe doubt is playing in the back of my head. And so I wanted it to be this kind of over the top aggression. And then the second life hits him, it's pulled back immediately. And you can, like, even when the gunshot goes off for the first time around him, he panics and he drops to the floor. And, it's not this tough, like, oh yeah, you just killed the guy. Who I really am is a scared punk. And so, yeah, just playing with that.
You mentioned a van. You did spend a lot of time in cars. I was like, man, they got him like, usually the gangster can come out for like a little bit and he like standing somewhere, a couple bag, but it was always just like in the tight corner. He was laid back looking like so sad in his chair. Did you at least get to like pump some music in the car while you were waiting between scenes?
Not at all. It was an old, rinky-dink van. I think that was exciting though. Steven and the set designers, production designers really put us in that world. I mean, it's 3 a.m. We're in New York City in December. On 14th Street inside a van, and I got this fake gun in my hand, freezing, but and so being exhausted, being tired, being up late, that's everything they're going through. So, and being in this cramped space, it was cool that they didn't open up the van to try to get a wider shot. We stayed real cramped up. On top of us being there, Steven's in there with the camera. you know. So and then there's also a boom operator, you know. So you've really got a packed van, but it almost felt like eventually we were just shooting a play. But you know, when you don't leave, you don't feel like you're doing a movie anymore. It's like this is just a play in a van. And so we just put all the piece to scenes together. And yeah, I think at least for, you know, Shay and I and Gerald, I think that, you know, that's going to be our most memorable moments for us on this show. It's just really being in that van late night, trying to warm up while we shoot this.
Yeah, I was gonna say y'all did y'all thing in there, because that scene is so that when you get to that episode, where you get to that scene where it's everybody in there, and you know everybody's fight, you know, everybody has so many different angles they're coming at, and Aked is like kind of in the middle where he's like, okay, I got my crew, but he doesn't know something's going on with his crew, you know, like, and he's trying to chase down the guy, he's on the phone, so it's just so intense with like everything that's hitting him. And, you know, too, I thought was interesting when you talk about, like, you know, minority communities, immigrant communities, you know, Black communities. Sometimes, you know, there's so much closing in, like you feel like you're closed in and trying to get a certain path or trying to get to a certain, you know, goal. And it was almost like it was hard to watch in a sense, but it was the truth, because everybody was trying to, you know, almost one up each other or use each other to get where they needed to go. And it was like, well, why don't we work together? But we see they're in a situation where that's impossible. I'm curious to you, like, what were you feeling like in these scenes where it's like you're basically, you know, in that scene where they're having to portray you're going against your own people to get a goal. Like, he knows this isn't right, but he also has other stakes he's worried about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just a testament to how Ed was able to create these characters. You know, everyone almost lives in their own world within this world. You know, everyone has their own choice, their own reasoning. And everyone, I think that's the thread between everybody, is that they're all leading with trauma and pain, some sort of trauma, some sort of pain, whether it's recent or whether it's a long time ago. And each character makes their choices all dependent on that. And so for me playing Aked, I always felt as though Aked would make a choice but had no idea how to make it. Even in the scene where he was plotting the whole heist, he's sitting there and it's almost like a game to him. It's almost like, I got this, but really he just has no idea what he's doing. And so it's interesting to watch a show where by the end you look at every character and you're like, who am I supposed to like here? Who am I supposed to latch onto? Because everyone led themselves almost into their own demise here.
Do you think without his family, do you think he would have walked away? Or do you think it was so much a part of him and ingrained in him that there was no way?
I think he knew nothing else besides family. And I think that was his downfall. If his aunt wasn't in the picture, according to him, he would be nowhere and he would have nobody at all. And who knows, maybe he'd be a monk and maybe he'd go be happy somewhere. But I think that all he knew was filling in shoes, was carrying a torch, honestly. And I think he felt as though the torch was passed down to him, but he didn't realize that it was a bomb, not a torch. And so I think that's it right there.
But, you know, speaking of the aunt, the kind of last thing that I know that kind of really stuck with me, and I'm curious, you know, the aunt was it was a lot about the spirituality and, you know, what you put out into the universe. And she was thinking, okay, if I do these right steps, if I have this, my family will be okay. Do you have any kind of like little superstitions or, you know, little things where you're like, okay, I got to do this before I get on set, or this is going to, you know, I got to make sure I have this, you know? Yeah,
I think so. You know what it is? It's more so things like I shouldn't do or can't do.
Okay.
You know? Okay. I'm focused on, all right, don't do this before I get on set, or don't tell myself this before I get on set. Don't feel this before I get on set, you know? I was going to say something else. Can you repeat the question one more time? It might pop up real quick. Yeah, like any kind of, you know, superstitions. Because, you know, sometimes like my parents would be like, you got to throw the salt over your shoulder if you go this way, or don't point when you're in like a grave site or something, like, you know what I mean? Step on a crack, it'll break your mama's back. Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, that's what this reminded me of. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think just subtly, subconsciously, I try to avoid certain things like that. I definitely wouldn't kidnap a kid. to fix any problems I have, but
that probably wouldn't help. You know what I mean?
that might not help. But yeah, growing up, all those I'm Dominican, and that comes with a lot of just random superstitious things too.
Mm. Yeah. Well, Jharrel, I appreciate you talking to me. This has been so much fun. People are not going to know what to do with themselves. This is a whole different level of like having to survive on the streets, and I can't wait for them to check it out.
Ryan, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks you for talking with me. I gotta say, the last time I saw you anything, you were in Collide, and that guy had a lot of trouble expressing his emotions. I would say Manny doesn't have that problem.
Yeah, no. Yeah, Manny is like, he's out there, he's kind of he thinks he knows how he's feeling, but he's also just kind of, I mean, that's what was also really fun about working with Zazie on, when we would do these scenes, because, like we would talk afterwards, and she's like, what is his deal with her? Because her character is, really thinks that he's kind of trash, right? But he is like protective of her in a way. Like, he doesn't turn in the psychoveil and until the very end. But he also, I think he also kind of is not just this harried boss dealing with kind of a maverick that wants to, do their own thing, but it's also a generational thing. Like, he's a Gen X guy and she's a millennial, right? And so like, he's kind of navigating that too. But I don't know. Yeah. I love the complexity of Manny, because in the end, he's kind of a dirtbag, but
yeah, and you know what too? I think Manny kind of makes you think differently about your boss a little bit. Because you're always thinking they're just dealing out, these rules and these regulations they don't understand, but you get to see his personal side as well, his personal life as well, that he's going through. And so you kind of get to see, or like the fact that he was protecting Mel at some points. Like at the very beginning, he was like, I don't want you out at this park at a certain time of night.
Yes. And some of what I mean, it was in the script, but some of what I really wanted to accomplish is, because as you watch the 6 episodes, I was hoping that people would be on Manny's side at the beginning, thinking that Mel has him wrong, and then, because that's so fun when you're watching a limited series or a movie, and you realize that the opinion of Mel was right, that like there's even times where when she was like, I'm coming for you, where like, I think hopefully people are like, she's going too far, but like the reality is she was right the whole time.
Yeah, it's so mysterious the way you guys played these characters, which is a lot of fun to watch. And speaking of which, Manny and Mel, I think really gave a certain side to the United States Postal Inspection Service. I don't even think about, like, I knew, okay, about what they do, the basic premise of it, but I went down a rabbit hole because I didn't realize how intense it is. The certain cases they take on.
Yeah, no, I was really surprised that. Because there were a bunch of, there were, police consultants, and also during the raid, there were all these cops that were either retired or, and I would ask them, I'm like, so these postal inspectors, is that like B team, or is that, and they were like, no, that's a pretty high status position. Like, people want that and to be a postal inspector. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Because I would think like, being a detective would, but I don't know. You know what I mean? So it was like really interesting to understand that being a postal inspector was a cool thing.
Yeah, you would have thought it was like FBI, CIA when they first started, because it was so intense. And then like you really got to get your like steps in towards the end because you were tracing down like the criminals. I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like it took it to a whole other level. What was shooting that? Like how much of that did you get to do?
Yeah, no, well, some of it is I got to, and also some of it is knowing that eventually I'm going to go on this raid and I'm eventually what's going to happen to Manny. I also, and some of it was in the writing, but I did want it to be like, he's this guy that like is a suit that shouldn't be chasing after the bad guy,
Exactly, yeah.
So it's some of it was setting it up, but like, yeah, no, like I remember there was climbing over the fence. It was so because I watched it with my wife. My wife was like, "You climbed over a fence?" And I was like, "Well, I climbed over half of it, and then they cut to the other side." Because I'm not going to do some of that stuff. I don't. That's not necessary. But it was, it is also fun. Like and there's different versions of, like, there was a version where I was killed with a machete, and there was a version where and you didn't see me killed, and then there was the version where I was shot in the head, and then there was, so it was like some of it is they were tracking, and I remember talking to Ed and Stephen about like why we're not seeing Manny killed and why we are, and they were like some of it is like pacing of how much death and murder, and also like so like the kid from Guyana, they didn't want, because later on he kills somebody with a machete. They're like, we can't have him kill two people with a machete.
I see. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we also didn't want him to, and it makes sense because it's like he's not barbaric. You know what I mean? He's not like he's doing something. He's kind of like taking back some authority when he kills Garmin Harry. You know what I mean? He's like becoming a hero in that moment. Whereas like he's been corrupted along the way, but like when he takes out Garmin, he's saving someone else. Do you know what I mean? And so at least that's my interpretation. And so it was, and but it was interesting because the whole thing is this look at the corruption, and also like even the Guyana thing. I mean, there's some colonial stuff that's there's colonial remnants, and then, but as a New Yorker, I love the fact that like I know of all these different communities in Queens, but I didn't know about a Guyanese community in Queens, and I didn't know that like like I knew that Trinidad and Tobago had like like people from different cultures settle there, but I didn't know that like when we were shooting in Queens, like there were certain nights we couldn't shoot because it was Diwali, and so like the Indian community in Guyana, they wanted to be respectful to them, so it was really fascinating.
Yeah, when you get to follow people that are, in part of our government trying to keep us safe, you really do get to understand they have to deal with different cultures. And that gives us like a window, a spotlight that we don't get to see all the time. And yeah, towards the end, you're like, I don't know if I want Manny to win. I didn't exactly want that, but I didn't know what the way you play this is so beautifully because you're so in the middle, even towards the end of it. Last thing I kind of want to ask you about, though, that we didn't mention, Manny is always like, he always has some really good food, some good snacks. But we do find out he's not really a good cook. So I have like a two-parter question. Are you a good cook? And do you have like, what is like your signature dish if you are?
Well, no, it's so funny because my wife said that when we watched. She was like, what are you serving this kid? I'm like, I'm a single dad who's like, and I was like, because when we were shooting that, I was like, so I'm doing like chicken fingers, pizza, and mac and cheese. I'm like, but he only gets the kid like once a month, right? So he's kind of like doing all the dad work. I'm not a great chef, but I would say that, I like to add some spice, and I'm not like a total crazy spice, but I've grown peppers before. And so then I wanted to use all the peppers. So, and my kids would be like, you ruined these tacos by making them too hot, because I've got younger kids and, and they're, but yeah, so I would say I'm not a great chef, but occasionally I'll make, beyond scrambled eggs. That's kind of my skill set there.
Well, it's a skill set to deal with spice. So I will say you got to give yourself credit for that. That takes a certain kind of especially a certain type of spice. Oh man. So you got to give yourself credit for that one. Jim, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. It's such a great time to watch you on this show, and I can't wait for people to check it out.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Hey, Timothy, how you doing?
I'm good, Ryan. How are you?
Doing good. I'm glad you got to lay back and relax, because I was so scared for you. I was like, I hope you got a moment to lay and relax during these scenes. I was like, it felt so intense. I was like, he needs like a therapy couch in between, like running in the park therapy couch. I don't know. It was intense. Right?
I felt the same. I don't want to spoil the behind the scenes, look behind the curtain, but in between those takes, I had a really nice trailer.
Oh, there you go. That's good. I'm glad you could relax, because Derek was super stressed. So I'm glad you had a place that was
I appreciate your concern.
What I'm curious though, with you playing this calm, level-headed, he was very just like collected at the beginning, and it was very smooth and mysterious how you played it. How did that feel for you to play that position, knowing what you had read in the script, like knowing what's coming, and you're starting the character out like this?
I mean, listen, Ryan, I'm just winging it. You know what I mean? I'm just winging it. Look, here's what you do. This is the job as far as I know it. You read the script. The script is everything you're describing. It's like this amazing build, and just gets more and more. It starts off, it's tense, and it gets more and more tense. And this guy seems like, he's kind of the grounded one. Yeah,
exactly.
You start seeing, wait, there's something more going on. The good news is, once you show up and, to play the scenes, you just play the scene, and you trust that it'll all string together just like it did when I read it. So,
you played it very well.
You can't play the whole thing, as they say, a house is a house, but a nail is not a house. So, you just try to do the one little thing and trust it'll turn into something bigger.
Yeah, man. And I'm gonna have to start taking notes, because you're dropping too many gems for me. Like, this feels like actor 101.
Right now, listen, you're just getting lucky. This is not going to happen. That's probably it for the day for me dropping gems. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will cut this clip and make sure I keep it on replay. I got it.
Yeah. Don't expect much more coming your way. Even as I was saying it, I was like, damn, Tim is pretty good. I don't know where I got that.
Okay, well, give me another gem for this one, because I'm curious as we kind of watch his story of. Oh no, okay. Well,
I just told you I'm out of gems, and then you asked for one more.
Okay, give me like a slight gem. Does that work?
Like a cubic zirconia.
Like slight gem.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, cubic. Yeah, there we go. Cubic zirconia on this one. Stay away from the diamonds. Only cubic zirconia from now on.
There you go. I got it. Hit me.
Okay, so do you think the secrets? Okay, the secrets, right?
Yep.
Are we helping or hurting people by keeping secrets? Because this question is still on my mind. I haven't figured this out finishing the series.
Oh, it's always, here's what I know. It's not the mistake. It's how you handle the mistake, right? And these people all handled their mistakes very poorly. Yeah. And it's going to bite them in the ass. Those kind of secrets, look, my life is easy. I don't have these problems. But when I kept thinking, these people's problems wouldn't be so bad. At least my character's problems wouldn't be so bad if he just, way back when, just owned up to it. It just owned up to it. Plus, I don't know, keeping secrets is exhausting. I mean,
You look pretty tired.
We all got them, but the big ones, they're exhausting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't you think?
You know what else is exhausting? Yeah. You know what else is exhausting for you though? Seeing you run through New York. How much of that were you getting fit for that, or were you like, I'm gonna run to this and that'll be good for you guys?
I'm gonna tell you something. I'm not gonna lie to you. When they gave me a choice, when they handed me the bag, right? That's supposed to be full of money. Mm-hmm. Yep. And they said, hey, do you want the bag to be the weight that it would be? Or you want us to just put some newspaper in there and you make it look like it's heavy? And normally I would say, just give me some newspapers and I'll pretend it's heavy. But I didn't feel like doing all that acting. So I was like, just give me the heavy bag. It'll just make it easier. And that was the dumbest decision. Because once you commit, you can't wuss out. Yeah. Hey, give me the light one. You know what I mean? Because then you look like a baby. So it was exhausting carrying that bag around.
I mean, do you at least have a wireless charger now? That was stressing me out.
Right.
I was just like, is he going to at least get that? Gosh.
I do not. Let me tell you something.
You do not? Okay.
This is the difference between me and that character. I would be thrilled if my phone died.
No. What? Nobody can charge
my God.
Is that the purpose? Is that your purpose?
Oh my God. Have you ever accidentally left the house without your phone? It's so wonderful.
Yes, and I was terrified. That's what I wondered. I was terrified.
Ryan, it's like a vacation. What? No?
Come on now. Come on. If Derek did not have his phone in this thing, well, I mean, he didn't have a charger, so it died. But I mean, he wouldn't even have got to the park.
No, I understand. I'm saying he had a problem. I'm just saying my life without a phone, it would be lovely.
Oh, okay.
Lovely.
Man, you don't want anybody to reach you? I feel like that's like, you can listen to music.
No, it's so nice. Have you, Brian, after this interview is over, just leave your phone, go for a walk, and then you can thank me later.
Oh, no, that sounds bananas. It sounds like I would not know what to do with myself.
You're like, oh my God, that's bananas. Going for a walk.
That is bananas. I don't even know where this interview was going, but that sounds bananas. Like, without my phone, I can't check my Twitter, my Instagram. What are you talking about right now?
Ryan, this is a bigger gem that I'm giving you than the ones we started. And you identified those and you don't know this one's that. If you take nothing away from this interview, you should just take that. That's it.
Okay. We got to end on this last note because I'm really scared. You're going to tell me I got to give up my computer and my other tech before we finish. So I'm just gonna do this last. I'm gonna do this last thing. Cubic zirconium. Okay, I just need one more cubic zirconium. Okay, it's important. I
gave you I just gave you an emerald, like a rare emerald, and you're saying another cubic zirconium.
But that emerald hurt me. I want to throw that one back. I want to exchange it out for this one. Okay. So look for this one.
Ryan, I had to borrow a laptop. I had to borrow a laptop to do this interview. Okay.
You're kidding me right now.
No, this is not my laptop.
Oh my gosh. I can't right now.
I need a laptop just to talk to you. All right. Hit me with your question.
Oh my God. This is just okay. All right. Okay. All right. So for the parents out here that are kind of dealing with like, okay, they do the thing like, okay, I'm going to stay together for the kids. It's all for the kids. But what is what would you say, coming from Derek's perspective, I guess, what do you learn from love? Are you hoping the audience takes away about love and relationships? Because they make, like Derek just said, they are really making this work. I thought at any moment they were going to be like, okay, divorce papers, we got to separate.
Well, you don't want to give anything away here, where this thing goes. But,
right.
In terms,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would go with what John Lennon said, which is the love you make is equal to the love you take. What did he say again?
I have no idea. I didn't even know that's where you were going to go with that. I'm still on the fact that you told me I can't have my phone.
Well, I know. I can see you're upset by that, but that's why I was trying to give you some just loving, sweet message. But I don't know. What do you? I would just, as someone said in the script there, go home and hug your kids. You know what I mean? Just go home and hug your kids.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Well, Timothy, you are way too much fun. I had way too much fun in this interview. I can't promise you I'm going to try to get away from my tech because I'm really attached to it, but maybe it'll keep hope. I'll cross my fingers.
It'll be there for you when you get back. Don't worry about it.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Easy. It was a pleasure.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.